Hey Tribe, welcome to the Primal Path Podcast. Today I interview Joey Medor. Joey Medor has been a friend that I grew up with. We went our own separate ways after high school and reconnected at a friend's funeral, Matt Silvestrini, last year, who died of brain cancer. Matt was known for pushing the limits of things from ultramarathons, triathlons, but always trying to make your life a little bit more challenging and doing the things that you didn't want to do. I've been thinking about running an ultramarathon for 4 or 5 years now, and there's no better time. I stopped making those excuses, and I decided to ask Joey to come and join me on running Matt's very first 50-mile race, which is Cayuga Falls in New York. And we have that scheduled for June 2024. This is going to be the story about Joey, though. A guy who has no background in fitness. He ran a mile one time in his life for school, but just continued to live life without having that. Now that he's over 40 years old, at that funeral for Matt, he came up to me and says, I need to do something. So I'll let him tell most of the story, but I convinced him to join me on this journey. He's lost over 35 pounds. He just completed a race of 17 plus miles, 3,800 feet of elevation in the trail, and did it in under 4 hours. Phenomenal, phenomenal pace and phenomenal distance for a short period of time. But hear his story and see how much movement and fitness can change your life.
Thanks for having me. My name is Joey, and Andrew and I went to school together. He was 2 grades below me, I think, in high school, and we both shared some passion in skating and some non-conventional sports. So that was a big piece of our getting to know each other. Was he had passion to get out there with me and go try to do some skate parks, not local. We drive out to Rhode Island and whatnot and have some fun at Skaters Island.
Skaters Island is killer.
And so our friendship goes back well over 20 years.
What was that? Skaters Island, was that in Warwick, Rhode Island? No, it wasn't
Middletown,
Warwick.
Rhode Island.
Middletown, Rhode Island. That's what it was.
A lot of fun out there.
Holy heck. Is that place even still around?
No, it's long gone. And then we went out to the beach on the way home and hit the park out there on the concrete park at the beach.
Yeah, dude.
So Narragansett, I think that one was. But yeah, we used to have some good fun together. And then we kind of went our separate ways. Andrew had his career path, and I had mine. And
I also wanted, Joey skipping over a big part. Joey was you were phenomenal at you're a really good skater too, but I think snowboarding was
that was my
everyone
jam.
Everyone knew you were the best in the school, hands down. At high school, you were pulling you were doing backflips, and this was the stage of snowboarding when backflips were just coming around relatively. Yeah. It's not like nowadays where they're doing double and triple backflips, and it's kind of that's the start of your career. The backflip was one of the biggest things you could do, and you used to be
front flip was my jam. But back in the day of single tip snowboards and the twin snowboard was a new thing. But
that's true.
We started in the 90s. Early 90s.
So you got ridiculously good, and you pretty much lived up at Powder Ridge too.
Yeah, so no kind of traditional sports background as far as running, baseball, football, none of that stuff. My thing was always kind of that solo sport routine.
Likewise,
and so
dirt bikes, skateboard, snowboards, snowmobiles,
stuff that gets you hurt.
But also kicks out of That's how I knew you were an adrenaline junkie. Yeah. Is the fact that anyone who takes on those what were considered extreme sports back then, right?
Yeah.
Anyone who takes on extreme sports, I always found that to be exciting. Always chasing the, just chasing the adrenaline, and it's just you versus you. You didn't have a team to back you up. It was you had to have the mental toughness and built that mental toughness to, ollie off a 5-stair or 7-stair or rip it on a big gap or a step up or something like that or hit a rail it was just you.
That's always been my fitness move. So I'm married. I've got my beautiful wife Carly, and I've got 3 young kids, and life is good. And we kind of ran back across each other, at an unfortunate event at our friend Matt's funeral. And
yeah.
And I realized I hit 40. It hit me hard, and I realized my work fitness balance, like never did the gym, but always had a very physical job. My job had changed, and so I was no longer doing as much hands-on physical activities. And so, that along with hitting 40 really took a toll on me, and I found myself just feeling quite out of shape. So as I ran back into Andrew at the funeral, I said to him, "Hey, we got to reconnect." I knew he had his gym going, and had some incredible fitness knowledge, and trying to help people get into shape. And so I said, we gotta get back together. I gotta find something to feel like I'm getting fit, or I'm staying fit. And
yeah, and it kind of kicked off, like we linked up, like you said, Matt Silvestrini's at his funeral and stuff like that, and it was just awesome to see you. And I feel like it's like when we reconnected, it was kind of like we never had that separation. Like, you've always been a down-to-earth, cool individual that I've always looked up to in that aspect, and I still have your Nitro snowboard that you sold me.
That's right.
You sold me in like 2001, maybe
Probably.
2000.
Yeah,
I still have that snowboard to this day.
That's awesome. Yeah, I rock like an 03 board. So I still ride a 20-year-old board if I get out there.
Yeah, so like we linked up at Matt's funeral, and with Matt just loved to, we did a podcast, and you could go back and take a look at that podcast, talking about Matt Silvestrini and his brain cancer. And that was the first time he had brain cancer, which he recovered from. And during the recovery, he was running these ultra marathons, and the doctors were like, "You can't be doing this." Right. But at the same time, the doctors were like, "Oh my gosh, you were recovering faster than anyone else." So he just did what he had to do, and he did what he loved, from triathlons, endurance events, bike events, anything that was just miserable, long, and grueling. And he was just an absolute, like,
he's a beast.
The beast. That's all you can say. He's just an absolute beast. And
you told me about that podcast at his funeral, and and I was excited to go back and listen to that podcast, and I spent some time with that podcast, and it was huge for me. Matt had some really inspiring things to say about putting things that make you uncomfortable on your schedule. And it was just like, it made me do some deep thinking about what I could do to challenge myself, and maybe consider just taking on some life challenges a little differently. And then I reached out to you, or someone reached out to each other, and
we just wanted to get together, have a conversation, go for a walk.
Yeah. Well, no, I said let's have a coffee, and you're like, "Yeah, why don't we meet and take a walk?" I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's cool too." I guess
we're 90. Hey, buddy, you want to take a walk?
Yeah, well, okay. Coffee sounded easier. But, yeah, we'll take a walk. So, so we met up and had a good walk, and that's when Andrew came up with this crazy proposal.
I only knew one person who would be, I don't want to say dumb enough.
Yeah, maybe.
But
yeah,
I was dumb enough to. I've been wanting to run an ultra marathon for 4 or 5 years. I have tons of friends who've done them. I put them on the podcast. If you look at the early, like the first 30 episodes of our podcast, are a lot about people doing these long distance events. My brother's done them, and I just haven't done that. I was dealing with ankle issues for so long. I finally had ankle surgery after avoiding it for like 13 years. And I go, no better time than now to force myself to get back and recovering, and then do something that's going to be way outside my element than of what I'm used to. And I miss doing those mentally challenging workouts. You can go and hit the gym for a couple hours, and it's tough and challenging. But when you're out in the middle of nowhere by yourself in a location that you don't know, and you're absolutely dying, the ability to quit is very hard, because if you quit, you can't still quit, because you're just going to sit down in the woods and you still have to walk your butt out of there.
Right.
So it was one of these things I was like, I know I can't do this alone. And I was like, Joey is a person who I know has the mental toughness. And I wasn't looking for someone who had the physical capabilities,
Right.
which I know you do. Obviously, that's proven now. But I was looking for somebody who had the mental toughness to keep on going when things got tough, and who would show up on the worst and most miserable days. Little did we know that the start of this entire journey was probably one of the worst possible days you could humanly start running.
Yeah, I remember that day very well.
On Matt's birthday,
Yeah.
I believe it was.
Yeah,
Yes, it was on
Christmas
Christmas Eve,
Yeah.
on Matt's birthday last year. That we'll get to. But yeah, we were going for a walk, and I brought up the idea. I go, hey, why don't we run 50 miles? The Ithaca, what is it? Utica.
No.
Ithaca
Yeah.
Falls? Utica Falls?
Cayuga Falls.
That's it. Cayuga Fall 50.
Yep.
And initially, this was probably like November that we were taking that walk,
probably.
maybe early December. And we were like, hey, yeah, maybe it's in June. It'd be a really tough challenge, but maybe we can get it done by June. And both of us haven't ran in a we never ran, but I haven't ran in a long time. We're like, yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, like 6 months, sure, no problem.
Yeah, we'll be able to totally do that. And we got super excited, like you do with every like challenge that you want to take on. You get that dopamine, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this.
Yep.
And then you decided said, yeah, let me talk it over with Carly, make sure that I can find time to do this and fit it into my schedule. And then
we started running.
That's it.
Then, we hit the ground running. It was Christmas Eve last year, 2022. And it was due to be a cold day. I do remember that. We were like, oh, it's going to be cold. And
it was like -5 or -6.
Yeah, it was one of those things. Then I think we started at 5:30 because my schedule was tough. We had to kind of meet early. Andrew, you had some stuff going on where you had clients, so it was like, okay, yeah, we can do this, but we got to do it early in the morning. So we both show up with headlamps on.
Back at Herd Park. We went back to Herd Park.
Yeah, so where it started.
Where we did the initial walk to just go for like a mile or something like that.
Right. It was like a 20-minute or 25 minutes. We set a time limit. No pace, just kind of go out there and see what we can do. And I remember waking up at like 4 and my alarm went off and I'm like, okay, cool. He's going to bail. It's way too cold to go out. And I believe you had the same thought process. He'll bail.
I didn't get much sleep. He's going to bail shortly. There's no way he's running in this -5 degrees on Christmas Eve at, we're waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to do this.
And then like 10 minutes before I had to be there, I was like, well, I guess he's not bailing. I better start driving. So snowboard pants and running shoes, gloves, the whole 9, headlamps, away we went. And
snow on the ground, ice. It was that perfect. Crappy, crusted New England ice on top of the snow that every foot is just sinking in awkwardly, with like 20 layers on, gloves, hats, just faces like frozen, lips are cold, frost is in the beard, and the snots are like frosted over. And we did it. We did like a mile and a half, maybe
something like that. It was a nice short, brisk walk, but it was the start, and we both showed up, and it showed our dedication to the process, and it was what we needed. It was like, okay, well, every running day will be better than this. It was like that was it. It was like, okay, here you go. Start with crappy, and it'll get better. And so that's pretty much how it started. And then, I don't know if I did some solo runs. I think it was kind of just you and me at that point.
Yeah, then we were just doing we were trying to get like once a week, and just like, and the same thing was we decided to go off of time, because I figured time would be better than distance, because sometimes when we have distance in our head, we'll force ourselves to make that distance. If we have that time slot, we need to walk or we need to slow it down that pace. We were set on that, so we're going to be improving one way or another.
Right.
And then, it just evolved from there, right?
Weather got good. It got to the point where we could kind of both try to get our solo runs in during the week. You kind of did what worked for your schedule. I did what worked for mine. And then I would say at least once every other week, we'd plan a run that was always a little longer than the run before, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I got really into it, and
yeah, you did.
I really enjoyed the challenge. I enjoyed the the solo time, the moving meditation, so to speak, whether I had music on or no music on, and just kind of getting out there. And I realized like what running could bring to the table for me, that it was just a great physical beating, and it made me grow physically, but the mental benefits were just astounding to me, like the free time in my head to enjoy, not thinking about much outside of running, or thinking about a lot, but it doesn't really matter because you're just running for as long as you're running. And that's one of the biggest benefits running has brought to me, outside of the physical, making me feel good, feel leaner.
Yeah, it really forces you to take all your concentration and just focus on what's going on with your body.
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling, and at the same time for you to just take that time, especially when you start getting tired, to pick your head up and just look around at where you are. Right. And it just allows you to slow down your life, disconnect from that information overload,
right,
and start evaluating the importance and purpose of who you are. And that's the thing that I find on these really long endurance events. And really long could be anything. It could be 2 miles for somebody. It
right.
could be 150, 250 miles for somebody. That is all, it's all personal on what you feel.
Right.
But going on those long distance stuff, it lets you find out who you are.
Right.
It lets you give yourself some gut checks. Like when you say, I want to quit and I want to stop, do you quit and stop? Yeah. Or do you push through that? And I don't know. Besides the fact that you get the physical benefits from running, the cardiovascular work and,
right.
and stuff like that, it's just as much. And I'm not a runner. I'm going to always say that. I'm not a runner. I don't even like running. I'm dead serious. It sounds crazy, but I don't like running at all. But because I don't like it, I know I have to do it because I'm not good at it. And that's the things that always push me and helps me, whether it's running, whether it's lifting weights, whether it's something like that, finding something that I don't like doing and forcing myself to do it. Not do it through pain, not do it because of this, but do it because my brain says, this is tough, this is challenging, and you don't have to do it. There's no requirement to run.
Right.
There's zero requirement in your life that's forcing you to run.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, talk about your growth in running in general from, hey, this is how I'm running. How was your pain? Did you feel pain? What was going on?
Right.
Did it cause you to stop? Did it cause you to push through? What were those kind of like little check marks? 1 mile runs, 5 mile runs, 5Ks. What are those check marks, and how did you end up finding a little bit more of a passion?
So one of the big things I remember about this whole starting process was you coming back and saying, hey, I want to do this, but we're going to do this without pain. And you were like, all right, I'm going to give you the tools to do this. And that's where Andrew came in for me, was like, if I said, yeah, I'm just going to go learn to run long, I would have never been able to do that, because I think I would have done pretty much what I did without any of the coaching, which is go and almost blow my knees out. So I started. Andrew gave me some great mechanic stuff. I listened to what I could and be like, oh, yeah, no, I got that. But, yeah, I didn't really get it, because I think you really have to get out there and put your time in to really understand some of the stuff you were talking about. So I'd start off, and, before I knew it, I was running 5 miles without too much,
discomfort.
Not too bad. At a reasonable pace, maybe a 10-minute pace, and I'm like really excited. Hey, I did 5 miles at a 10-minute pace, and then I remember sending you my screenshots of what I'm doing and being all pumped, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go do that like 3 or 4 days a week, and then on like day 4, I remember being like, oh, my knee is trashed, and then it was like a solid week of hardly being able to walk and learning that I went too hard, too fast, just too much. And because I had never had any real gym background, I didn't really understand the recovery piece of it too well, or applied effort, and just kind of go put 90% in every day of the week, and that your body needs some time to recover. Although Andrew gave me all the tools, you said, you constantly would tell me, give yourself some time and grow your distance at a reasonable pace, and maybe don't push your pace as much, and gave me the information, the human processes, our tendencies are to just go do too much. For me, it is anyway. I like to challenge myself to the point of get myself hurt. So
hey, you got to find your limit, right?
I found my limit.
A man's got to know his limitations. A good man said that one day.
So then it became, okay, I spent some time recovering. I learned a lot about what my knee pain was, and that it wasn't that my knees were shot, so to speak, because everybody can experience that knee pain. And some other runners I talked to said, that's one of the pieces that separates people who run who don't run is, can you get through, can you work your way through that pain scenario and try to get to a point where you can do the work without the pain. And you can do that by doing some of the right exercises and the right training, and giving yourself the proper amount of time to recover, bringing in some good nutritional stuff, and things like that. And you provided me a ton of that information that was vital for me to be able to keep my head in the game. And so then I started taking some advice.
That's the learning process, right? We think we don't know what we don't know, and we gotta, you push yourself. You're like, okay, I get that. And like you said, though, you can get into something and be like, okay, I kind of understand it. But until you continue to get deeper and deeper into it, do you really get that knowledge and the wisdom from that initial understanding? And that understanding creates depth of that. And one thing is, like, when I was dealing with pain, or you were dealing with pain, you'd be like, hey man, let's go for a 9-mile hike.
Right.
And so if we weren't running that weekend, we still found ways to get movement in that still challenged our ankles, our knees, our muscles, and all that other stuff. And
learn how to handle terrain, whatever it is. And we did. We found a way to redirect focus and still have a lot of benefit, but be able to lighten up on those pieces that needed a little extra recovery time. And I forget that you were struggling your own fight, which was your ankle. And so, we both had a little different issues, and we've that's a really good thing to talk about, is that you can continue the progress by adjusting the way you're taking on the work. So,
and I really think a lot of people stop at that point. They're like, I ran again, my knee hurts again. I ran again, my knee hurts again.
Right.
And once again, I knew you were mentally tough enough, just from growing up with you and seeing what you were capable of doing in ways that you were fully capable to push yourself, that I knew that even though you had knee pain, and I'm like, hey man, take it easy, you're like, yeah, sounds good. I just ran another 5 miles at a 9-minute pace. And I go, how's your knee? You're like, oh, it's lit up. I'm taking the next of the week off, but I got it in, and I'll go, good. I like the fact that he listens to my advice, but he still goes off of what he thinks is right. And it's a learning piece. And I think that's the point that separates, the winners from the losers, is the people who are listening to the information around them. And I can't tell you what to do, and I can't feel your pain, and I don't know your level, so I'm going to give you best case scenario.
Right.
But you also go, cool, I appreciate that advice, but I need to go and do this because I need to know for myself.
Right.
Rather than just taking off of the words, you're applying what you know so far, and then taking that onto a lesson of, how do I get better?
Yeah, the old, sometimes we have to learn the hard way type of deal, and that's human nature too. You have to do it. Then it just became kind of this personal challenge where I'd go put down my, call it a 5-mile time, and you push your pace. And then one of the greatest things about running is you're only competing against yourself. You're really doing, for me personally, I find a lot of drive in striving for a new PR. Whatever your best personal record you can get done is, and a lot of times that's what I chase, and that's something that's a real big pushing piece for me. I think everybody has their own drive. For me, it's just it's about that personal best. And sometimes that's adding distance. Sometimes it's adding time. I mean, that's
reducing time.
Yeah, so that's
time,
but
adding
that's
time. Yeah, you're right.
That's the great part about running is there's a lot of variables. So you can be like, I'm not going to worry about my pace today, but I do want to go get an extra mile or two or whatever it is, or I want to go run for another 20 minutes, or I want to go run at this pace, and you can just you can adjust what you want to work towards, and all of those have different benefits, I think, on your whole capability to get out there and just get stronger as a runner. And that's something I really enjoy about the sport.
And I live vicariously through you now, Joey, because what I love is you have that runner's high, and we have a couple of our clients even in classes now who got that this year. So they're like, hey, I got this race. Hey, you can sign up for this race. And I'm like, Ryan, I'm like, I love you, Ryan, man, but I can't hang with as many races that you're doing, man. I can't. And, even you're like, hey, I'm going to run this event. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not, I'd love to join, but I got all that other stuff.
And I couldn't pull off either.
But what I love is seeing you have that passion. And the cool part too is like, it helps drive me when you're sending me stuff and I'm like, crap, I need to get out there. But it also helps, like, when we have this like long-term goal that we're like, all right, this week we should probably be getting about 10 miles in. So you're like, well, I have 5 days left. I haven't started. I have time for a single mile. I have 15 minutes. I can go run a mile and come back in and I'll be good.
Right.
So you go out and you just hit a mile. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to just run a mile because it's not really helping me on a 50-mile journey just running a mile. But it does.
Absolutely.
If you build up the distance, and if you can't run it, if you walk a mile, that's an extra mile that you're still putting underneath your belt. And that's the biggest thing is like running. A lot of times people think when you run that you have to run like you're running a mile in high school or elementary school. You got to be running fast. You have to go nonstop. And what I love about trail running, and that's exactly what we do. We've been diving into road races every once in a while as like a little bit of maintenance and to push some time frames and stuff like that, which is good. But all of our running has mainly been in the woods. And when you run in the woods, the trail dictates your pace, right? Like,
absolutely.
You can take a very smooth trail that's kind of hilly and get a really good, solid, hard cardio run in. And then we can hit a super technical terrain, big rock, very steep ups and down that's undulating. And you're like, I can't run. I got to walk up this hill. And then you start bringing in that pain. In a different type of pain. Some of it's mental, some of it's physical, some of it's a little bit of both.
Right.
But it gets that variety in, so you just become a very well-rounded individual. And the biggest thing that I couldn't do this race if we were running 50 miles on the road and we only ran road. With the trail, you get to see so much more of just the land that you live on and places that you see. And not only that, you could run these races anywhere in the world. You can go out, out west and do some races in the Rockies. Yeah. Like, you just get to see parts of the world that you might never experience and you'll never experience in a vehicle, or you may never have the time to go and hike those locations and stuff like that. So if you get a little bit of that running, and I'm a slow runner. Like I said, I'm a set pace, and I can get out there and go for, days. That's fine. But I ain't fast. You, on the other hand, you are
fast, but we try.
You're quick. You're quick on those mountains, man. So we went out. We started running a couple of races, and then what was our first race we did?
10K for Matt. That was the very first one.
Oh my God, I forgot about that one.
Yeah. It was like an unofficial. It was.
That's right.
It was Matt's. It was actually a road race. Was our first one, but it was dirt roads, and it was one of Matt's trails that was far from his road run, so it was far from a regular road race.
Yeah, it was definitely
pretty good elevation in a 10K.
Good. Yeah, and in the freezing cold rain.
Yeah, it was a nice rainy day that day.
That was cold. I was shivering by the end. I was a little bit too cold.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, you're like, oh no, I need to go a little bit. So I was kind of like just hanging back and just chilling. And you're like, you know what? I need to see what I can do a little bit.
Yeah.
You pushed through and you got that done pretty good.
It wasn't too bad. I was satisfied. It was like it was good. It was like not a sanctioned race. It was really just a fun event to bring kind of Matt's people together. And so that was just a great break-in for me because there wasn't a lot of pressure, but it was still an event, so it was fun. And but our real first sanctioned event, which I think it was that night, I went home and signed up for Trap Rock, and I got told about like, hey, you want to challenge yourself from another trail runner? He's like, why don't you go take on Trap Rock, do the 17K,
and which is like 10 to 11 miles in between there, 10 and a half.
So I made the move to go sign up for it and then send Andrew a screenshot and be like, hey, here's a tough one. We should try this.
And with me, I'm good at long distance. I am miserable in elevation. Like that, my ankle just doesn't like elevation, so I have to go really slow. And this one was highly technical terrain with a decent amount of elevation, almost 2,000 feet of elevation over those 10 miles on a very humid. Yeah, it was humid once we got up towards the power lines. Maybe I was just miserable. But we started out the back. I'm like, Joe, we're going to start at the back because I'm thinking my pace, not your pace. It's all about me, not him. And the trail starts directly up.
Yeah, stairs.
So, we're like just taking the time and stuff like that. And then Joe's like, I'm going to go push through. So I see him pushing through and working his way around people. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I'll keep up with Joey. This will be fine. Not realizing how good he is on elevation. And I start chasing him. And the first couple miles, that's it. I went too hard. I went way too hard, which is a normal mistake for people who run long distances. We always start races too fast and too hard. And 100%,
it was too hard for me too.
100%. That I thought I was going to die at the end.
Did have a special look on your
I was
face.
like, I'm going to kill everyone. How was that race?
It was a bit of a humbling experience. I went and probably pushed out of the gate a little harder than I should have, and ran the first, say, 3/4 of it with, relatively good. I felt good. I was a little beat up. My knee was not feeling fabulous, probably by like that 3/4 mark, and that's when I was like, oof. And try to eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich while running, which I would not advise. That didn't go well, but I did manage to get through it. Saw a cool bear out in the woods, and made me run a little faster, and it was good
motivation right there.
Yeah, I was like, I'm just not going to make it at like the 98th percent mark, and then I remember looking up and being like, oh, there's the finish line. I'm going to make it, and crossing it within our goal. I don't remember the exact goal, but we had set some kind of. It was a long duration time. It was like, okay, yeah,
I want to do sub 3 hours.
Yeah, something like that. It was.
I think, and or was it sub 2 hours?
No, sub 3, I think, because that's you ended up pulling the goal.
I made it by like 5 or 7 minutes.
Yeah, whatever it was, you ended up pulling it.
It was very close. It was 3 hours, right? Not 2?
I think it was 3. 2. Your 3 was what we wanted. I was, I don't know, somewhere in the 2s. You were 2. I remember we both met our goal.
Yeah, you finished like 20 or 30 minutes before me.
Something
I think you were like 2:20 and I was like 2:50 something or whatnot. Either way,
anyway, we
under the bridge.
We met what we wanted. I learned a lot about trail running. That it is just a phenomenal community.
Right.
Everybody is encouraging, and you get out there and you do your pace, and it's just a respectful place with a lot of great people. There's a lot of encouragement going on in every direction, and that was amazing. I mean, we saw a couple spills. I took a good tumble.
Oh, man.
I took a good tumble myself, and
those toe catches.
Yeah, people were like, "Oh, you all right?" and stop in, and I'm like, they were like, once I said, "Yeah, I was all right," they're like, "Oh, that was a great roll. Nice job." But people help each other, and it's just, you couldn't ask for a better community when it comes to a competitive sport. It's like everybody cares and wants to help each other just get to their goal, and if you can.
On every podcast that I've done in the past with people who've done these ultra marathons, they have all said the reason that people keep on doing these is just because the community and how much support each person does to help someone out. And the support is like very minimal. It can be, big or small, but I mean the simple things. And then I'll give an example on Trap Rock. I was estimating I had about another mile left, and that's the point that I realized that I wasn't going to hit my 3 hours. And when that kicks in your head, as low as you think your energy is, the second you realize you're not hitting that goal, your energy drops like 50% even more. Right. So you could barely even move. And this guy ran up behind me and he's like, "Hey man," he like just touched me on the back. He goes, "The finish line is right there." And I was so miserable thinking I had a mile left. I looked up and it was just this downhill for like 200 yards of a double wide trail and that finish line. And I went from, I need to sit down because I'm going to die, to all the energy in the world. And I'm like, I'm getting over this stupid line and stuff like that. And it was as simple as someone saying, "Man, we're right there. You got it." Like, you don't understand how encouraging those simple words are. And no matter what place you're in, people are there to help you. And whether it's to help pace you or if you're just like piggybacking people, right. For me, I always pass people in the downhills. Everyone catches me back on the uphills, and I catch them on the downhills. So it's fun to kind of almost have, if you do find those people on the trail, it's this fun thing that you're kind of always running into a random person, or you have the people that are coming up that are a lot faster than you who are doing a second lap, third lap,
right.
Or if it is a lap trail, that are there, that are fast, that are there to just, tell you that you're doing good, like at the times that you don't even realize that you need. And then on top of that, once you get into those longer distances, you do have to start thinking about nutrition and hydration and how to monitor that. And there's so much more to it when you really think about it and you really start the journey. You're like, oh, I just need to run this. You don't realize, like, all right, I need to know how much food I'm taking in. I need to know how much water. What's my salt? Where's my magnesium levels out? Like, how's my body feeling? What is my pain level? Can I make an adjustments to the way that I'm running to help alleviate pain in some sort of area that I feel like is like a possible injury in the long term if I don't try and like adjust my position or my feet or my shoes? I realized, on a really technical terrain, if you have a soft sole shoe, your feet are going to be in agony the next day versus if you get a little carbon pad, carbon plate in your foot plates, or a little bit more cushion in there to help you out. But the further you get into it, the more you get to experiment and explore with different things and what works and what doesn't. But Trap Rock was like, it was just a lot of fun.
It was a good break-in.
It was a tough break-in, but I mean, it was really, really good, man. It was a fun day. And then when you finish that race, I know I had the problem. Maybe you were. I was so worried about, like, I'm limping and slowly like thinking about every step after the race just to walk back to the car. I don't remember how you were, but I think your knee was in fuego, was on fire, lit up. But
I remember asking you if you wanted pizza, like right as you crossed the finish line. You gave me this death look. I was like, okay, he needs time, not pizza. And I was just scarfing pizza at that point.
You're covered there with a smile on your face. I'm like, this jerk is smiling right now, and I'm like, I can't even look at him.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
You disgust me. It's like, and I think also the other disgusting part is as soon as I like crossed the finish line and like fell down and like rolled down on the ground and just lay there, I look up and there's like someone finishing right behind me. I'm like, all right, it wasn't last. And then they're starting back up on their second lap, and I'm like,
oh, that's
because there was like a 17K and a 30K. 50K?
50.
Was it 50?
Yeah,
it was 50.
Yeah, so they had to do 3 laps. So they were probably starting their third lap.
Yeah, they probably were, realistically. They started like an hour before. So they were starting the third lap or whatnot. Or it was like 2.5 laps, or I don't remember what it was. But I was just like, oh my gosh. I can't even fathom walking back up that hill.
Yeah, no, I could. There's no way I could have made the second lap. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
Not that day.
No, not that day.
And,
yeah.
You had already had another race on your schedule, which was a week later. You decided to sign up for this other.
Yeah, that was dumb.
Yeah, well.
That was so then. Yeah, so then then this is kind of where we started. Our schedules are just slightly off. So you had some races, and I really wanted to get, my goal for 2023 was to hit 27 miles.
Right.
That was my goal in 2023. Because technically you 27.1 or whatever, you hit the ultra marathon status, which is you're literally just dipping your toe. It's like running the first mile before you're running a 5K.
No. Don't discredit yourself. You are an ultra marathon runner over here. All right.
Listen, be careful saying that. There's a lot of people who are going to be like, "You're not an ultra marathon. You just did 27 miles," and I get that and I respect that. But for me, it's one of those checks. It was a check. I've ran plenty of half marathons, but I never done a trail half marathon. I've never done a full marathon,
right,
let alone a trail marathon, which is definitely more challenging than a road marathon. So Forgotten Forest was a 2-mile loop with 150-foot elevation, and Forgotten Forest was 8 hours. So you just run this 2-mile loop. So I parked my car, I had my food, my water, everything that I knew. I needed 8 ounces every 30 minutes, and I was rotating between strictly water, a 50-50 mix of water and electrolytes, Gatorade, and then straight electrolytes. So every 30 minutes, I ran with 2 bottles, and it took me about 13 minute to 15-minute laps. So I knew that I could put down 1 bottle. Wait, what was it? It was a 2-mile lap. So yeah, so I was doing 2 miles. Took me about 30 minutes, just under 30 minutes to do that. So I knew I had to drink both of those bottles before I got back. Stopped at the car, refilled those, ate about 150 to 250 calories per hour, and got back on the trail. It was a cooler 50-degree day, overcast, with very little wind. It is probably the most optimal running conditions you could ever ask for, so you won't overheat. And that one was pretty miserable, and I stopped a little over 7 hours. I could have ran for another hour, but I ended up getting over that, little over 27 miles on that race, and that was my big accomplishment, my successful check box of what I needed to get done for 2023, because I think we realized it was like Trap Rock, where I think we realized, like, we ain't doing this 50 in June. Like, we got 3 months, and we just hit 10 miles of terrain.
Yeah. It was a hard truth day, is what that was.
It was
it's
there's
not
a lot
happening
of knowledge
here.
and there's a lot of knowledge and wisdom that came that day.
Yeah.
50 miles is going to actually be a 2024.
Yeah, let's look at next year for Cayuga, and I think we're hopeful we can pull that off, and with some good winter training, I think we can get there for next year.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
we're signing up one way or another.
We are. So. And I try not to run in the summertime because it's too hot, especially with this head of hair. Yes. So I try to run winter, fall, and spring, and of course this race is in the summer, June 3rd, 2024. It's in. So.
Nice, cool day.
But the fact of the matter is, if you guys look up the Cayuga Falls Trail 50-miler, it is one of the most beautiful trails in New England. You're running through all this ancient
just waterfalls
and all like developed walkways and stairs of all that are all laid with like granite and stone that was built hundreds of years ago. You're going underneath waterfalls. Like, the entire trail is just absolutely beautiful. But that's going to be like a 16-hour thing, and the biggest thing for that is just not stopping.
And you keep going.
Matt Fryman, actually, who also was a big push to help me run ultra, and he was on the podcast. He told me that ultramarathon running is not about how fast you run or the person who runs the fastest. It's about the person who slows down the least. And there's not a truer statement that you'll realize. Like, you can start that mileage off at a fast pace, then you're refilling your water, then you're shaking something out, then you're getting food, and all of a sudden you start seeing 20 seconds slower, 30 seconds, a minute slower.
Right.
Then, at a certain time, every runner hits a wall. And,
Right.
and that wall just sucks the life out of you. You feel like you're never going to recover. You feel like this is it. And then at some point, for some reason, you mentally convince yourself to stop being a wuss.
Yep. That's pretty much it.
And all of a sudden, you get this, that second wind. And it takes, for some of us, that might mean mile 5. That might mean mile 7.
Right.
For other of us, that might mean mile 14, 15. And it might last 2 miles. It might last 10 miles. And for me, it lasted from mile 13 all the way to about mile 24 that I was just almost fast, brisk walking that trail on that. And then at the last couple miles, I was like, let me get this done. And I don't know what that is. I don't know. It's mental. I don't know. It's physical. I don't know what it is, but what I love about it too is it takes you from a place of learning how to regulate your body, but yet continue to move forward. So a lot of people get into discomfort and they push themselves hard and then they stop. And I need to stop to recover. I need to slow down. I need to take a rest for a couple minutes. Then they get back walking. Then they get back running. If you do that, you will not make the cutoffs on a lot of these races,
Right.
especially if they're point to point. So what I love about ultra running or running in general, is that you can find a way that I'm exhausted. Okay, maybe slow down my pace. I'm still moving forward. Maybe I walk. I'm still moving forward. I run when I can run. I walk if I have to, but you keep on moving forward. Sure, there's times I haven't gotten to the mileage yet where I need to stop and take a 15-minute break, that I need to sleep because I'm doing some serious mileage. I'm not, we're not at that level yet, and maybe that level will come, and maybe our long distance running career will end before that.
You never know.
All I know is I've always, thought in my head I want to do 100 miles, but I'm also a realist and realizing, okay, do I have the time to put in the training? And that's the other thing too, is what year do I have that time to put in the training? How important is that goal that I am going to put it as the highest priority? And for me, I know that I'm capable enough to train for a 50 miler.
Right.
I know I can get that done. And it might be miserable, it might be horrible, and it might be the only limit that I have, but I'd be satisfied and happy if I got 50 miles underneath my belt, and I call it quits. I wouldn't have any regrets.
Yeah.
Now we'll see what happens when we compete, when we do the 50, whether we complete it,
Right.
And then the gut check is what happens next.
Right.
But
do you sign up for something else, or is that it? Do we
Yeah.
retire at that 50? But and I agree with you on that statement as far as like you find your way. Like Andrew's a much faster downhill runner than I am. My knee problems really come out when I try to run downhill. Now when it comes to uphill, that's where I try to get my gains. That's where I tend to push harder. So for him, it may be to slow down a little bit on that uphill because it's just not his jam to go push that uphill. And then the downhill, he's just coming by you like a freight train. For me, it's like, okay, I want to skip up this hill as best as I can and run the flats, and then a lot of times I find myself slowing down on the down, not because I can't do it fast, but because I can't do it fast pain-free. So that's one of the greatest parts about ultra run or any kind of long distance trail running, is that you find what works for you, and like you said, just steady and steady forward progress. The old, running trail is 90% in your head, and the other 10% in your head. So it's like you have to mentally. You have to battle yourself really through whatever you're going through to keep on moving, because it's easy to mentally tap out and just say, okay, I'm going to walk, or I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do, quit, walk back to the start. But it's actually kind of hard to quit unless it's a 2-lap race. Then it's easy. Then you're like, or a 3-lap race, or 20-lap race, because you're like, no, I'm back at the start. I guess now's the time to quit if I'm going to quit. But if you just start the next lap and get yourself far enough away from the start, it becomes a little harder to quit again.
Yeah, you can't think about it.
No, you just got to run past it.
You just got to know that you're stopping off at your car, you're back at the start just to refill your water bottle, and you'll have that in the back of your head that maybe I could quit. But the second you start really pondering it is when it really gets to that forefront. Like you said, if you just hurry up and get back out there, it'll help out. You know, and after we went through Trap Rock, we went, you know, I had Forgotten Forest. Then you did.
That night, that night I signed up for the next.
Then you sent out the one that we just did. Yeah, and you shot me that. I'm glad we signed up then because our training kind of like slipped because life happened. And that's the big thing that you got to, you know, life happened for both of us. We both got very busy, and that was more important than running. So, you know, you were staying on it more than I was.
Training skipped. Yeah, I mean, so for me, I found myself running 3 miles, kind of almost, you know, as much as I could on work days. I had the opportunity to start my day real early and get in like 3 to 4 miles regularly, and then it became, hey, well, you know, every other week or something, can we catch along? Can we do something that's, you know, anywhere from 6 to whatever, maybe as much as 8 or 10, and that was kind of what did keep us aligned. Like, okay, we gotta keep going. Otherwise, you know, the goal slips away if you're not making any forward progress on it. So there was like for me, it was like my maintenance running, which I could work on. How do I get a little faster on doing my 5K time or whatever it is? And a lot of that was road, which had some benefits because it allowed me to be a faster runner, maybe work on some of my mechanics, but had different benefits than getting out in the trail. And that was awesome because you really learned about the cross. That road can be really good for you for some things, but there's nothing like getting out in the woods and using every muscle that you don't use when you're road running because of stabilization and all the other benefits that come along with trail running. But you really realize that having a good mix between road and trail can be best for whether road or trail is your benefit. I think that it's just a great crossover because it can have benefits in both directions. We did a couple little gym rounds where you conned me into coming to the gym.
Yeah, suckered you in.
Yeah, beat me up a little bit. You know, I learned that I am quite weak in the gym. I can go do the running, but I have a long way to go to come hang with this guy as far as the way he can train people in this gym. So, and then we moved on to 4 on the 4th.
Yeah, we did 4 on the 4th. What else did we do? I thought we did another. Yeah, we did 4 on the 4th in Chester.
Yeah, which I literally did not intend on doing at all. Stayed out too late. You're like, yeah, I'm going to go do this thing. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna. And then I woke up early for some reason. I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go do this thing. You ran it barefoot like a
it was my first
savage.
Longest distance I've run barefoot on the road in the rain.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was a little tougher with
a great event though. Like 700 people. Awesome 45-year-old event. Just a really, really great time.
Yeah. It was really good. That was good, and then
the following week I went and did Sailfest.
Sailfest,
and that was a flat, fast course, and I went and got some of a PR that I finally just got past the other day.
Hell yeah, you shot me that. Do that 5K PR.
Yeah, it was good. I was psyched with
smoked
with that. So you know, and we.
Then we did. I did the Rails to Trails.
Yeah, you had.
I think you did another one of those. You were possibly doing another one. And then we just had at Macedonia 25K, which I think we both agreed that we'll never run the 25K there again. 12K, yeah, we'll go back for the 12K, but that 25K, let alone the 50K that people were doing, put on by Steep and James.
They're putting on a 100-miler, I believe, for next year.
They tried it this year, but no one signed up for it. Yeah,
because it's
they offered
brutal course.
Shoot, man, that a beautiful course, beautiful environment, awesome. But the humidity level was through the roof. It was just about to rain. It was just wet, slippery rock. the toughest terrain we went on with ropes to climb up the rocks. Yeah. I mean, it was just a vertical cliff. And that one you smoked. You murdered that one. You did sub 4 hours on that. I came in 5.5 hours. I think I did 5:40 or something like that. Yeah. I was almost dead last, but I didn't care. It was 3,800, 3,700 feet of elevation, and I saw you for the first 30 seconds, and then I saw you about 6 hours later. Yeah. Actually, or not even. We'll see you 6 hours later. Yeah.
It was, for me, I would say that the Macedonia race was probably the hardest, like, physical competition I've put myself through. Like, and it was, I tried to run it the best I could, but it was a lot. It was one of those things that was like, I just need to finish this thing. Like, that's it, and I'm going to put down the best time I can. But at the end of the day, my goal is to survive this thing, and I exceeded my body's capabilities. I found myself extremely cramped. Although I drank as much water as I thought I needed, I did a really good job of kind of using the water at the right pace. I'd get to an aid station and be prepared to fill again, and always consumed what I needed to. I thought I had a good handle on my nutrition and all my uptakes, but I just found that my body was just not well enough prepared to take on that event. Which leads me back to when Andrew dragged me into the gym and said, you really need to work on, on getting yourself stronger, doing some of the weight training to really develop some of those muscles that I need work on, through the shorter events. I never found myself having a lack of raw strength. And when I'd hit those climbs for the second lap, I was like, wow, I am just not strong enough, in certain muscle groups to make it through it. And did I make it? Yes, I made it through it. You fight your way through it.
Yeah.
If I told myself I'm going to crawl back to the finish line if I need to. I will literally just belly crawl until I get back there. But I managed to massage some cramps out enough to find the finish line in a reasonable time.
But, good time.
That was a good check for me that you got to work in some other ways.
What I really liked about it too is I'm seeing the development of you going from no gym, no long cardiovascular work on a regular basis to, okay, I want to do this thing. It sounds fun. We're going to do it to memorialize Matt and push ourselves at the same time. But now you're seeing why. And when you realize the why of why you should run and right. why you should do strength and why, and you can tell because your results aren't there and you have a little bit of experience behind you now for 9 months, 10 months now. That,
right.
Well, actually longer than that, 11 months we've been technically doing this. Now that you have that behind you, you go, oh, well, if I do want to get better at this thing, I do need to go to the gym. And it almost turns into a little bit more of a non-negotiable. Like, well, right. if I don't do this, I'm not going to do this.
Right.
And so it takes away of whether you want to do it and now gives purpose. Be like, yep, I got to put my mileage in. Yep. You know what? I do need to strengthen my joints and my tendons right. by doing some, high rep resistance training. I do need to build my muscles and do some heavier weight, lower rep training. I need to try to explore that in some way because that's going to allow me to prolong when my discomfort kicks in on the trail. It allows me to prolong and push a little bit harder when I am in discomfort and pain. And I know that I have that in me. And I love seeing the growth that you have come over this period of time from absolutely nothing. And if that's not a testament to anybody out there listening that says, you just got to set a date and start going at it. Like that's what you need to do. You need to set a date and put it on the calendar and start working towards it. Because if you don't have that date, it's always going to be someday.
Right.
It's always going to be someday. I'll do it someday. But you start putting those little things, and that's what I loved about it because you push me to hey, I want to do this race. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I'm doing this race. Right. Hey, we need to do this one. I guess I'm doing shit. I don't want to do this one. Oh, this like and
for the record, I don't know that I wanted to do any of them, but I knew without that date, that hard. Okay, you're going to make this commitment, and we've that's one great thing about you and I training together. We make the commitment, and we're going to fulfill that commitment. And unless there's something that's just we cannot get through for some unforeseen condition or whatever it is, if we make the commitment, if there's a way to meet that goal, we're going to do it, and we're going to show up that morning, and we're going to put in 100% to do our very best to complete that commitment.
And what's crazy to think about in the 11 months that we've been doing this, not once have you not shown up or called in last minute quit.
No.
Not once have I contacted you and did the same thing.
No.
We have truly been there to help each other out and made sure that we show up for those things no matter what the situation was.
The rain day ones were great. You're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do a gym run. And I'm like, all right, cool. So there'll be some other people. Cool, yeah, this will be fun. So I get there. Andrew's there. He's already running before I show up. I'm like, oh, who else is coming? They're like, yeah, I think it's just you and me, bro. And we ran in the rain. Actually, we've trained a bunch in the rain, and that's been some of our best runs. We've had a lot of fun getting out there in rainy, crappy days, and just it makes the nice day runs real easy.
And what I love it is I always look for rainy, shitty days on competition day because it gives me the advantage. Most people don't want to train in the rain. Most people don't want to train in the bad weather. They won't train in the wintertime. We went out -6 degrees on our first day of running. We did that. We go out in the rain. We don't care what the weather is because the weather doesn't matter. Once you get going and you're in there, to me, I like the bad weather because it's a distraction from what's going on in my body. I'm like, oh, it's wet. Oh, geez. Like, oh, my clothes are wet. Like this. I'm like, at the same time, it keeps me a little bit cooler with this thing on. But that's what I love. And that's also, once again, that's the person that I knew would be able to tackle this large task. And Joey, it's just been phenomenal seeing your growth and development over that time frame. And to me, I love seeing that you found a passion, or you found a purpose on why you need to add that stuff. And with as busy as life is, and as all the ups and downs of life outside of your own personal human being, but the things that surround you, you could find peace to take those situations. And for me, when I go and run, I think of those things that are going on in my life. And it allows me just an extended period of time, whether it's a couple miles, 20 minutes, or whether it's a couple hours, that I could sit and process that and understand what's going on to get me back in with a clearer head and a little bit more direction. And it took that run, or it took that gym routine, or it took that thing and allowed me to remove some of that stress or some of those thoughts that are sitting in the front or back side of my brain that I'm just dwelling on and don't know what to do with. And it helps me really kind of like push that on. And I feel like I see that in you and what you do as well too when you're doing it.
Well, I'm really grateful for this journey, and hopefully we'll jump back on and get to talk about some other wild, stupid event that we took on. And but this is for me, running has just been it's been a real life changer. Is running like do I say running's great, it's awesome, it's like all I look forward to? No, running sucks.
Exactly.
I'll just say it how it is. It sucks, but you stand taller at the. I personally stand taller at the end of every hard run that I take on, and the easy runs are great. Yeah, those are nice. You get this nice, like right now the weather doesn't get better to go for a 3-mile run. You're like, oh yeah, this is perfect. This is PR time. But it's a solid challenge. It makes me feel great and accomplished at the end of every run I can go get done. So
yeah, I think what we're going to do is we're going to do some race reports. So as we continue to do our runs, there's going to be an endurance section part of our podcast. And we're going to try and we wanted to break this into about 4 different parts and talk about all the different races. But I think, we can do that. But I think moving forward, once we finish that race up, we'd love to give the breakdown of it and why we're still in that moment and we still have that energy within the next couple days after a race to sit down and jump on the podcast again and, start talking about those things and letting other people know about, that everyone is capable of doing this. Like running is literally just walking a tad bit faster. Like that's all it is. You just pick your feet up a little bit faster. You could go at a 15 to 20 mile pace, which a lot of people can even walk faster than you run.
Right.
But just getting that little bit of up and down work in, you never know where that's going to lead to. And I think us sharing the different races that are around New England, that are around Connecticut, and kind of give them the feedback of what it's actually like on the trail, the things that we see, the tough parts, the ups and downs, I think is going to really help people out. And if you guys are interested in that, we'll gladly bring those on, so let us know.
Yeah, we're happy to kind of go over some of these events we sign up for, and at least probably keep it a little shorter, but keep it, give you guys some information.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep it a lot shorter, but yeah, Joey, thanks a lot for coming on the podcast. Without a doubt, we're going to be on this and do this again. I really appreciate your time coming out here. And the biggest thing is I appreciate being my teammate in this solo event, right?
Yeah.
It's an individual event, but there is truth that, having somebody there to help keep you accountable, and help guide you and help push you. And that's what you've done for me. And I want to say thank you.
And
thanks to Carly as well, too. Thank you for allowing him to come out and hobble home on times. And thank you very much for watching your kids all those times, too. So,
you can fit it into your life, too. If I can fit it in with 3 kids and in a full work schedule, you can fit it in, too. So
awesome, Joe.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it. All right.
We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you. What in the fuck do you do with this thing?
You just tuck the knees so you can't.
No fucking way.
So you can't have bad posture, because if you lean forward, the whole chair tilts. So you can't
Holy fuck me! Where did you get this thing?
You can't round the back.
This is a
It's
thing.
impossible. Yeah.
Really?
Right, you can't round back. You lean forward, you can't, and you're just gonna roll forward. Your posture stays vertical.
This fucking table's asking for.
Oh, dude, it's gonna blow out on
Where
this
did you
podcast.
get this thing, dude?
So I bought the legs from China. So they sent me. I ordered this uplift.
Yeah.
And it has a chip on the edge right there. So I sent them a message. So they sent me a brand new top.
Yeah. And then you're like, fuck it.
So I bought Chinese legs.